Decision to Leave is South Korean director Park Chan Wook's most recent film project that premiered in 2022. Park Chan Wook is globally known for his dark cinematography and plots, for which Decision to Leave is a perfect example of. The story of the film follows an insomniac detective by the name of Hae-jun, who along with his partner Soo-won works for the police department of the city of Busan. Hae-jun's wife, Young-an, is a nuclear power plant worker who lives in another city. She is notably the youngest ever nuclear power plant worker, as shown in a newspaper clipping during the scene of a married couple in their home, where Hae-jun returns from the city for his weekly visit. The film practically drops us in the middle of an already engaged story conflict, where Hae-jun and Soo-won are investigating a strange case of a death of a retired immigrant officer, Kim Do-soon, who died under suspicious circumstances, falling off a mountain that he climbs frequently. He leaves behind an extremely young wife, Sore, who is an immigrant from China. During their investigation of her, Hae-jun and Soo-won discover that she's been heavily abused by her late husband, giving her a motive as his possible killer. As their investigation deepens, Hae-jun begins to develop an infatuation with Sore, questioning her numerous times and staking out every night to observe her. Sore is aware of this and begins to obsess over watching him while he watches her. Eventually, the evidence that Sore was at a client's house during the time of her husband's death temporarily rules her as not guilty, and Kim Do-soon's death is ruled as a suicide. However, in a sudden turn, Sore confesses that she did kill her mother with fentanyl pills by her mother's request before immigrating to China. This causes Hyunjin to be suspicious of her again, despite the evidence, and through further examination he finds that Sore and her client have the same phone model, and that she switched them to make it seem like she was at her client's house when she was actually at the mountain with her husband and killed him. He confronts her and begs her to cover up the evidence and throw the phone into the sea, and then they go their separate ways. Fast forward 13 months later, Hae-jun now lives with his wife full-time, and one day sees Sore at a fish market with her new husband. The very next day, her new husband is found dead in their swimming pool, and Hae-jun takes on his murder case, suspecting Sore is the culprit once more. For the entirety of Decision to Leave, the themes of both obsession and affection are highlighted in many different instances. The prime example of this is the attitudes of Hae-jun and Sore towards each other. Relatively early on in the story, it is made clear that Hae-jun is passionate and practically consumed with his line of work, so much so that he goes days without sleeping. So when he takes on the case of Kim Do-soo's death, his inability to solve the case easily is coupled with his blossoming affection for Sore and brings his obsessive characteristics to full throttle. This is shown through his actions of conducting multiple interviews with her, and especially through his nightly stakeouts in front of her house where he watches her all night. Sore quickly becomes aware of this and begins to watch him the same way. Her obsession with Hae-jun grows larger as his own wanes. She even says to Hae-jun in one of their final interactions before her death, "The moment you said you loved me, your love is over. The moment your love ends, my love begins." However, although their obsession with one another is clearly an unhealthy and short-lived bond, both characters represent what the other lacks in life. Throughout the entire story, the motif of mountains and seas appear, and it is no coincidence. A mountain is where the story of Hae-jun and Sore begins, and the sea is where their story ends. Both characters represent one of these symbols, with Hae-jun as the mountain and Sore as the sea. Hae-jun is like the mountain, as he is constantly trying to solve and move forward on his cases. He represents stability. He is married, has a comfortable job, and is constantly moving upwards in life. This upward push of his character is visually shown with the first meeting between Hae-jun and Sore, when the camera moves upward when she sees him for the first time. Contrasting his character, Sore is the symbol of the sea. Ironically, she would quite literally not be in South Korea if not for the ocean, as she immigrated from China in a boat. She is wise, independent, nearly always dressed in blue colors, and very mysterious, much like the sea. However, she is also rash and violent, as demonstrated through her killings, which further deepens her characterization as the representation of the sea. Each of them is what the other lacks. Hae-jun needs what Sore represents, and Sore needs what Hae-jun represents. In her life, Sore lacks stability and comfort. She is in a foreign country, she has been abused by her husband, and she has very little connection with anyone outside her clients. Hae-jun is that stability that she lacks, and that is why she is so drawn to him. The reason that she begins loving him as soon as he stops loving her is because she realizes that she desires the stability he represents, but not Hae-jun as a person. Hae-jun needs the freedom of the sea, the freedom that Sore has. Although he is stable, he is unhappy and unsatisfied, desiring the thrill that comes with something unknown and mysterious like the ocean. Moreover, he is also too disciplined, causing him to neglect himself. This is represented in his insomnia, where he lets his responsibilities become so all-consuming that he doesn't sleep for days at a time. Sore gives him this thrill, as he has never encountered someone like her before. She also brings a sense of relief from his duties, which is shown in the scene when she asks Hae-jun to imagine the ocean, which puts him to sleep for the first time in weeks. In this film, Park Chan Wook ventures off his more violent and erotic storytelling tactics to weave a more intimate and at times humorous tale. It is scenes like this one in which the two detectives are climbing the mountain to investigate the murder that gives the movie a lighter feeling than his previous work, while still exhibiting the classic style of Chan Wook. Lots of violence, death, and fighting. Also, a fun side note is that the reason that Han-jun uses a chainmail glove instead of a different weapon in this fight scene is because the actor had it lying around at his house, and it actually is a pretty common self-defense weapon for people in South Korea, and a lot of cops actually carry it. For Decision to Leave, Park Chan Wook describes how he decided to create this film using more subtle tactics in his storytelling, while still staying true to his roots with the plot. For him, it was more about capturing the almost obsessive side of a romantic relationship and the effects love has on a person. Park Chan Wook said that Decision to Leave is for those who know the experience of having a romantic relationship of great subtlety and hard to define feelings, and the very complex psychological changes that happen to you over the course of life. To do this, Park Chan Wook uses the art of subtlety. Han-jun's longing for what he lacks and finds within Sore is portrayed throughout this lens, as he constantly longs to share space with her, to drink together, to share a cigarette. Moreover, for aesthetics, the color palette for the film deepens the story in the metaphor of the mountain and the sea. Turquoise, maroon, and other browns are the core for the color palette of the film, with the browns and reds signifying the stable mountain and the turquoise and blues as the wise sea. Additionally, the characters' appearance and the ties to what they represent is what I found most interesting. Sore, in nearly every scene, is surrounded by blue and dressed in blue. Since she represents the sea, this is an excellent way to remind the audience of what she symbolizes and why she is so important to Hae-jun. Hae-jun, on the other hand, is always shown in more earth tones or in suits, representing that he is the mountain and is stable and solid within his life and profession. For my scene, I chose to analyze the mirror interrogation scene between Hae-jun and Sore. In the beginning of the scene, Sore shows Hae-jun a Confucius quote that states, "Benevolent people are like mountains, and wise people are like the sea." After Sore shows him the quote, they both agree that they like the sea better, although Sore is the one who represents the sea throughout the film. Hae-jun represents the mountain. This scene signifies the first time that the two fall for each other. At the beginning of the scene, Sore and Hae-jun are pictured far from each other, but at the end, their reflections are close to each other, and they appear very picturesque side by side. Although this scene depicts the very first time that both people have fallen for each other, it also foreshadows how they will never work out. The varying focus, almost like a rack focus being used over and over, only shows one of them in focus at a time. While Sore is talking, she is in focus, and Hae-jun's reflection is in focus, and the reverse happens when Hae-jun is talking. This shift in focus symbolizes that although the two are deeply invested in one another, they will never be on the same page and are destined for their relationship to fall apart because they are only obsessed with the image of the other rather than loving them as the person they are. In my personal opinion, I think this is an excellent movie. This is the first of Park Chan Wook's work I've seen, and it definitely made me want to explore more of his films. In the class, I know it wasn't a favorite, but out of the 3 movies we have looked at so far, this one kept me entertained and engaged the most. I really appreciated the characterization of everyone in the movie that is accomplished with subtlety. Additionally, I really enjoyed the mountain and the sea parallels, which is a symbolism that I had never seen before in another piece of work. I also enjoyed the darker twist on the boy meets girl, boy loses girl trope. Instead of weighing down the story, I feel like it created a more intimate bond between the characters and the audience. I would recommend this movie to anyone who is looking to watch more foreign films, or who is looking to explore a wider variety of different thriller and mystery films with a romantic twist.